Okay, folks, welcome to the SEO Science Show. My name is Josh Bachynski, and I will be your host for today. On the SEO Science Show, we look at the actual SEO ranking factors to see what is an actual SEO ranking factor, what's going on with Google. If you've never seen the show before, I have a mentorship group in which I do scientific testing for. We've just discovered some really interesting stuff. We're always discovering really interesting stuff. So let me try and share as much free information with you as I can as possible. If you're watching live on YouTube, you should see there are a place for questions on the top right-hand side. I think that'll be the right-hand side, or maybe this side. One of the sides. You'll see a place for questions. You can also ask questions in the chat underneath, the comments underneath. If you want me to take a look at your URLs, I can give you some SEO tips based on what I see on the URLs. If you would like to ask SEO questions, by all means, go ahead and ask them there. So today I want to talk about some of the new stuff that's been going on in Google. Google's been making massive changes that have just decimated the industry. And that's because they're doing the old school method of SEO. And so I want to talk to you today about the new school way of doing SEO. I'd like to, Flyaway says he or she wants to talk about the 1st March weekend update. Sure. I was going to talk about that today, actually. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So these updates have been quite brilliant. And so let me get to my notes here, and we'll start talking right away about the SEO stuff that's going on. And I will just share my screen with the Discord. Okay, so here's one thing that a lot of people aren't realizing. Remember back years ago, Google said they're going to start doing AI-based rankings and that they were going to randomly determine what the ranking factors are per niche. Well, they're doing it. Now they are. They've switched it over. So you can't follow the general free advice of what's going on anymore. It's totally useless because all the ranking factors, well, not all, but a lot of the ranking factors, the finishing factors, if you will, the sort 2 factors, which make all the difference between page 1 or page 2. So that makes all the difference, period, are different per niche. So you can't just follow the general advice of people anymore. Sadly, at least people who don't know how this works or are not all over it. The way my group is, all over it. We're all over it like coronavirus on people who don't wash their hands. Oh, sorry. Too soon. And so they've been doing a lot of updates. And as mentioned, I'll mention the March 1st one. So since November, the dreaded November update, that is when they killed old school SEO. Old school SEO was about 80% dead. That's when they really started pushing over to this AI rankings base. Google's ranking system is a 2-sort system with 2 main algos. So it's 2 sorts. They sort once on when you make a search, and then they sort again after they pull that information in based on different factors. And then the 2 algorithms really is the semantic engine. The semantic engine really breaks down to two different engines, 2 different naming engine and kind of a power engine, if you will. It's 2 artificial intelligences that are very similarly related. They're like siblings, but we've scientifically isolated them. We've tested them. We see how they talk to each other. And then the other main engine that Google's using is the quality engine. You'll notice I didn't say links anywhere. Links are like barely a factor at all, even though the rest of the industry thinks they're the major factor. That's just superstition, guys. That's just people who want to keep selling links, and the price of links keep going up. Kind of like the price of oil keeps going up, even though they have more barrels on the planet than they could ever sell, and oil as an industry is dead, or it's dying anyway. It will be dead very soon, or should be. Same with links, and it's just people who are clinging on to that, who are too scared, who don't want to move over, and that's just the truth. I'm sorry. You'll get nothing but the truth from me. You'll get nothing but tough love from me. I want everyone to succeed. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to stop I'm trying to stop the madness of people spending oodles and oodles of dollars on links and bad SEO that doesn't work. And so you might not like what I say, but it is the truth. So that's what happened since November. A lot of people were hit. Then since January 2020, they made another major change. That's when they added the second engine, or they really tweaked the second semantic engine, the naming engine. So it's quite interesting. That it's totally changed. On page is not on page anymore. SEO, old SEO is dead completely. On page SEO, as it was known, is dead completely. All the old tools made before January 2020 are total lies, total guesses, totally wrong. And a lot of people don't like me saying that, but it's really too bad that these guys just don't have the proper science to isolate and to diagnose what's going on. Like my group really has done. I was trained academically to do this, so I guess that's part of the reason why I do it so seriously, in which I would love to share all the results with you. If you'd like to see some of the results of our results, to see some of the payoffs that we get, go to bit.ly/SEO proof. Let me put that up here. Why not? Proof. Go to bit. Oh, if only I could type. bit.ly. Oh, trust me, my SEO is better than my typing. bit.ly/SEO proof. Go there, and you'll see the results of a whole bunch of rankings. If it doesn't make sense to you, then get out of SEO, because it's the standard kind of search results stuff that we look at every day for the most part, plus some other things. You were looking at snippets of it before the show, plus other positive pieces of proof to show you that we are the group that knows what we're talking about, and we have limited space. If you want to join, I have an application process. I don't just accept anybody. Think of it like SEO University. Think of it like the MIT of SEO, and they don't just accept anybody. So I'd love to see if I can accept you. Go ahead, email me at joshbachynski.com. If you need any SEO help at all, including wanting to join the scientific group. And I'll make that. There we go. Okay. So it's I want to really understand this. It's not about keyword weight. Keywords don't have weight anymore. EMQs are dead. There's no such thing as EMQs anymore. EMQ stood for exact match query. That deals with search as specificity, like a control F. Like here's search as specificity. I can do a control F in Word, and I can search for this, and it'll give me all the records that have that word in it. It's a specificity, the specific word I looked for. Google doesn't work that way anymore. They haven't since last year, actually. They haven't for a couple of years, not really. And now they've really changed it. As you well know, you can search for best mattress toppers, and they'll give you results that don't ever say the word best mattress topper in them anywhere. They may not even say best mattress topper in them anywhere. Not only in that exact phrasing, but anywhere on the page. So, people think, oh, it must be links. It must be something else pushing it up there. No. It's completely their semantic engine. It was a complete rewrite. It's totally different. It's totally changed. RankBrain plus BERT has completely changed the landscape. And they just keep pushing out these updates, and, just quietly and surreptitiously. And John Mueller and Gary Illyich and everyone lies just out of their face, their pie hole, saying that everything's the same, just write quality content. And that is unethical. That is so little help that they might as well just say, bang on the keyboard and maybe we'll rank you. That's as much help as they're giving you. And sadly, it's unethical. It's a crime. It's a farce that they say these things. At least I'm giving you in general scheme the goods of how it works and what you can do to fix things. And later on today, I'm going to give you even more of the kind of stuff that you can do at home. That you can do even if you're not part of the science group, which you should definitely join. If you don't join a science group, you definitely are going to go out of business for SEO. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry. But I'm going to give you more stuff today that you can do free as well. So January, don't think about it keyword weight. It's about matching. It's about matching patterns. The semantic engine is about matching patterns. It's about matching special things in special places. And matching the special stuff. So it's not about weight anymore. Keywords don't have weight. And because the matching is very specific, you can go over optimization very easily. It's not LSI keywords. It's not TF, IDF. It's none of that stuff. And the recent Google update for March 1st. So this was mostly sort 1. They did a sort 2 update as well in December and around November. They did sort 1 and sort 2 updates as well. It's a 2-sort algorithm, right? The March 1st that just happened was a sort 2 update. The query deserves that used to be called query deserves diversity update. It's where QDD and QDF kind of exist, where personalization and geographic location and localization and all those kind of finishing touches are put on the search results. And that's where the update was changed. It was something that we call aspect. No one else calls it this. No one else knows about it. No one else has measured it. No one else can optimize for it and manipulate it the way we can. But it's quite powerful. It's kind of like a featured snippet, but different, much more ubiquitous, much more ubiquitous, like by a factor of, well, probably 100, if not 1,000 or 10,000. Because they don't show feature snippets all that often. It's because compared to aspects, they show it on every single SERP. So it's very important to know what that is and to be able to manipulate it. It could be the feather in your cap. It could be what changes your game entirely and gets you ranking for the future. So that is what you got to keep in mind for what's going on with SEO these days. Hosny says, in the last show with your guest, he asked you about entities, and you answered that entities are related to NLP. Not like everyone is using entities or as they explain it. Can you explain more on entities? And then Hosny continues to say, is there a useful way to use entities in our SEO strategy? So that's a great question, Hosny. So yes, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. And it's not as important as everyone else thinks it is. The NLP, the natural language processing that Google does, is not like the API, the free API that they give you. It's not the same database anyway. And it doesn't work quite the same as the API that they release to everybody else. But it's similar, and it does identify entities. It does identify what your page is about, and then it decides based on what the entities it detects on your page, what it's going to potentially rank you for. So they score you with NLP or something very close to NLP, and then they rank you with something with another vector, semantic vectoring engine there. So it's an interesting kind of mix that you need to remember to do in the right way. And if you go overboard on certain places, you definitely will get hit and get hurt. So you got to be very, very careful there. So all these tools out there that are kind of playing with this stuff and kind of do it haphazardly, they're all doing it wrong, because Google's playing a very, very smart shell game as to hiding, okay, NLP controls this part, but only this part. And then the semantic engine controls, the weight engine controls this part, only this part. And you're supposed to be putting keywords here, but not here, and there and there. And what are the keywords? So definitely you're on the right track. And there is a very useful way. There is a mission-saving, a mission-critical way to use entities in your SEO strategy. But I want to just reiterate that that's not like, it's not about brands. It's not about people. It's not about places of things. It's just a grammatical tool. They're just analyzing the grammar of sentences to try and get what the nouns are, basically. What are the predicates? What are the subjects and what are the predicates? And they're trying to just break down what is this article about? What is the topic of this article with a certain statistical percentage? It's about best mattress toppers, and it's about this, and it's about that. And remember, the AI is not smart. It's not intelligent. It's as smart as a bacteria. Right? They've got like 5 different bacteria working together to make something that's pretty intelligent for one specific purpose and task. So it's definitely a narrow artificial intelligence, an ANI, not an AGI. Don't personify it. Don't think of it as like a person. Don't think of Google as like looking at the search results and like manually adjusting anything. They most certainly do not. They do everything by programming. They've always said that. For a long time, that's been their position. Even with the hot button topics of Trump and Clinton and all those things in the current election, they still don't manually look at things. They still have teams of programmers that have AIs that look at things, and they're machine learning things and changing things on the fly. So it really is machine learning is like the worst of the worst. Is the most non-descriptive phrase ever of how it actually works. There's no learning involved. Don't personify it. It really is just gibberish to Google. I've tested this every which way. It's still just gibberish to Google. And you just have to put the right gibberish in the right places. And that's what our group knows how to do. So that's definitely what you want to do. Now, what can you do on your end to try and figure out what's going on with Google? Well, as I said, you need to join a science group. There's just no two ways about it. But if you don't have the money to join my group right now, or maybe you don't have the STEM background, or maybe you don't know the HTML or whatnot, or maybe you don't like me, you don't like the cut of my jib, heaven forbid. That's never happened online before. That's fine, fair enough. Sadly, there's no other groups I can point you to. None of them are doing science properly. They're doing it as a cash grab, sadly, and that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. But I can't, in good faith, recommend anybody else. But I can give you some free tips right now that hopefully will keep you going, will keep you hobbling along before you hopefully see the light of science and want to come and check out what we're doing and the crazy results. Again, go to bit.ly/SEO proof if you want to see the results. It's up to you. Hosni says, thank you for the awesome answer. With a thumbs up. It's my pleasure. Hosni, ask more questions. Ask more questions, guys. I'd be more than happy to explain the theory of how, the secret theory of how everything's worked based on the reverse engineering. Based on the RE I've done of Google's algorithms. They don't like it when I say that. That's when they start looking into my stuff. So forget I said those words. The completely above board scientific experiments I did, because they are completely above board scientific experiments, quite frankly. So let me share my screen again here, the display capture in the OBS. Okay, so here you have to know how to read the right Google hints. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to listen to John Mueller. Don't listen to John Mueller's advice, or Danny Sullivan, or Gary Ilyish, or Barry Schwartz. None of them. Barry Schwartz's initials are BS, and that's not by accident. They don't know anything about how SEO is working for the layperson SEO to get actual ranking done. I said that, and I'll say it again. They don't know anything. Even the Google employees. Some of their engineers would, because these engineers are brilliant programmers. They can think outside the box. But John Mueller and Gary Ilyish, in my opinion, are more doctrinal thinkers. They're not original thinkers, in my opinion. Danny Sullivan is the worst out of all of them. They have no idea. I'm going to put the camera on my face right now so you can see the earnestness of this statement. They have absolutely no idea what it would take to rank a page in an actual SERP, in an actual niche. John Mueller himself just admitted the other day, why, well, your site, to this guy who's been having problems forever. We've all known, you've all seen them if you've been watching John Mueller's Hangouts long enough. He said, I don't know why it's not ranking. It should be ranking. He has no idea, right? Yes, he's in the meetings. He hears from that end of how they built it and how they intend it to work, but that does not at all translate to the practical know-how required for you to actual rank a page from nowhere to number one, which I'm doing in Your Money, Your Life spaces, which our group is doing on a regular basis. So they have no idea. So don't listen to them. Not only that, the problem is that Barry Schwartz is so far up Google's butt, he can't see the forest for the trees. Bless him. I don't think he means to be a huge jerk like that, just spouting their nonsense, but he does. And Danny Sullivan took a job with them, so he was just as bad before when he was at Search Engine Land or whatever it was, and he was trying to grill Matt Cutts back in the day, and now he's one of them, so it's even worse. And they have to lie. They're not allowed to even tell you, even in vague concepts like I am, the good stuff of how things are actually working and how you could try to think about it and tailor things. They're not allowed. So you can't listen to them at all. So what do you listen to? Well, what you do listen to here is don't look at don't watch their videos. You need to forget what they say. You need to read what they write. Because in reading what they write, I've found a number of clues that passed by PR that are actually good clues in showing you kind of what you need to do. And once you even learn a little bit of science, and just a little bit of what science has proven in our group, in our secret group of reverse engineering, how their algorithms actually work, then when you read what they say, then you can start to actually kind of understand and put things together and go, oh, then it's a big, huge hint, right? As opposed to some vaguism where you could guess a million times and not be true. So let me show you what I mean. So when you have a search console for a particular site, it'll show you if you're in good standing and trusted. If you're not showing up, that means something else. If you have a search console for a particular site and you do a search for a query, they're going to show you what your rankings are, right? And they're going to show you the impressions you got, the clicks. And, this is what it should look like for you. Your impressions should be going up. Your clicks should be going up. Your ranking should be getting better. You should be ranking north of 5 anyway. That we consider that pretty much a success, because spot number 1 doesn't always have the most clicks. Sometimes spot 3 has better clicks, just the way that the human psychology works out and the way that they change the geography of the SERP. Sometimes a lot of studies back in the day when mods used to be useful and really on top of SEO, they showed studies showing that. This was like 10 years ago, even more, 12 years ago. They would show studies how even spot number 3 could get more clicks than, like, say, spot number 1. But if you're like, if you see a little button there where it's like, this is how you improve, you click it, and they actually tell you some information about how to improve those rankings, which I find fascinating. If you click that, you'll actually go to this page here, and they say, I'll just read this out to you, and I'll start giving you my Coles notes as to what you should be paying attention to here. I'll give a big kind of wink and a nod. Wink and a wink and a nod, sir? I'll give you a big wink and a nod. A nink and a wad, as I said. Renula. I'll give you a big wink and a nod to what you should be paying attention to here. That is, once you actually have done above board scientific experiments as to find out the grand unified theory of their actual ranking E equals MC squared, which is what I've done. Otherwise known as reverse engineering their algorithm. Okay, which they don't like it, so don't say those words. Okay, because they get angry. They start looking into your shit. Let me tell you. Okay. So, all right. So help people find your site on Google. 1, what users are searching for when they find your site? What users are searching for when they find your site? Open the performance report for your site to see a list of search queries at the bottom. Yes. Okay. So that's just how to use Search Console. If you don't know how to do that, I can redo a video on how to use Search Console. Are you appearing for the queries you expect? You know, they actually write this document as if they care that you're going to rank, which is interesting. So they say sort the table by impression count, which is interesting. That's not what John Mueller said. He said you'd sort it by clicks. And see, but if you sort it by impression count, that's going to tell you what the big queries are. That's the way it's supposed to work in SEO, folks. And see if you appear in search for the right queries, the ones that you think you should be ranking for. If not, you should restructure. Now, this is interesting. Look at this. If not, you should restructure your site to appear for those queries. Restructure your site. That's a very interesting way to put it. They did not say change your on page. They did not say buy more links. They did not say, they said restructure. They didn't talk anything about at the page level, which is actually how Google ranks pages. They rank pages, not sites. Secret, but they said you should restructure your site. So obviously there are some site-related, even though Google ranks pages and not sites, I've scientifically proved this. DA is a myth. Ignore it. It has nothing to do with anything. It's another smokescreen that Google allows to keep going while they simultaneously allow their SMX white hats to continue buying and selling links based on that for tens and hundreds of millions of dollars a month, probably still. But at the same time, call it out and be like, oh, you guys at conferences, you shouldn't be doing that. But they do it anyway because they don't know what else to do, because they apparently are living in the dark ages because they don't know that science exists, I guess. I don't know, which is fascinating to me. It's just absolutely fascinating to me. It's thinking about the holistic approach as to what that means. But when I say this, I'm not meaning this in a airy-fairy, pie-in-the-sky way. I do not mean like all the old Gesio things I used to say years ago. That Josh is dead. I've killed that Josh. That's his bones right there. That's no longer Matt Cutts and Joe Mueller. That's the bones of Gesio Josh right there. Dead. Hey, it was fun while it lasted. I had to go to science because nothing else was working. That's the way it works, guys. You have to go to science. So I don't mean it, and maybe if you've been watching my videos for a very long time, in those old ways. I mean, literally, there are very specific, now that's a vaguism, restructuring your site, but there are very specific things you need to do across a large spectrum of things. It's not just on page. There really isn't any on page anymore, not in the way it used to be. It really is a black and white difference. You just still do things on your page, right? But it's not on page like it used to be, like put in your meta description tag. Nothing like that. Not even how you want to think about it, really. Okay, and they give some tips. Oh, wonderful. 1, use text. Okay. Well, that seems to be very obvious, but at the same time, it's very specific. It's like, well, we're not doing OCR on images yet. Now, this page is a little bit, this page has been here for a while, probably over a year by now, but this is still applicable. Use text. Don't put your important page titles or content. Okay, there's a keyword there for us, generally SEO speaking. Titles or content in images, video, animations, or other non-text formats that Google can't understand as easily. Not that they don't read that stuff, but they do. It doesn't count. It doesn't have the same weight as stuff that's front-facing text. That also means stuff in the HTML as well. A lot of these tools are going crazy about stuffing keywords in the HTML. That is a huge, huge mistake. It is a huge mistake that will probably come back to bite you in the ass that Google crushed in November. Part of the anti-SEO algorithm, because a bunch of SEOs were doing it, because sadly my old friends Cora and Pop are doing it like crazy, and that's what they think you should be doing. Wrong. Completely and utterly wrong. And if you do use an image for your site or company name, include the name in the page text as well. Okay, that's interesting. But remember, entities like brand name and company name don't exist. They don't have a database of companies, and they're not giving your company ranking points that are based on the machine readable ID. That is complete and utter bullshit. That's complete horseshit. It's complete SEO. There's no proof to it. I know the guy who pioneered it. I asked him what his science was. There was none. Trust me, there is no science behind that at all. It's a complete guess. That law of averages, you cannot beat the casino, folks. And Google is the biggest casino there is. They are going to grind you down, and the guessios are going to get wiped off the face of the planet, because you cannot, no matter how good of a guesser you think you are. And I know a lot of people who do this, who think, I'm a great guesser. I'm smart enough. I can just keep guessing randomly as to what Google is doing. Pff, it's easy. It's just like 2010. I'm sorry, friends. You are deluding yourself, and you're hurting yourself, and you're hurting everybody who listens to you. You cannot randomly guess about the coronavirus and expect to have good results. You need science. Similarly, you cannot guess about Google's anti-SEO algorithms they're specifically trying to make when they watch all your public shit, because you make it very public, and then try to get you with it. You cannot just guess your way out of that. I'm sorry, you flattered yourself to think you're that smart. You're not. So don't do it, because you're hurting yourself and you're hurting other people. You're hurting your clients. You're risking all that money and all that stress and all that gripe. Is that even a word? Strife, gripe, whatever. Those things, bad stuff. You're risking bad stuff by guessing away. I'm the most egotistical man on the planet. Look at my hair. Clearly, I'm the most egotistical man on the planet. And I realized years ago that guessing just does not cut it anymore. And I was a pretty fucking good at Guessio. I was a pretty fucking good guesser as to what Google is doing, and from 10,000 feet away making a guess. My SEO audits I was selling years ago still help people for the most part when they did everything, just not to the surgical precision and the absolute power that we have now that I want to do. And then I needed to keep competing in good, honest faith in the future and have a good hope of actually hitting number one in 6 months, which that's the lead time for hard your money, your life queries, much faster in like less competitive areas. All my students are doing it too. We have about a 65% success rate. Ask all the other groups what their success rate is too. Ask them if they even track it. They don't, right? Oh, they will lie to you. They will lie, right? All the other SEO groups out there, oh yeah, we're all doing great. No one has ever been hit by a penalty ever. It's a bunch of bullshit. Statistically, it's impossible. They're lying. I'm the only one telling you the truth, which is why everyone hates me. Because the truth is not pretty, usually. Quite often, the truth is not pretty, I'm afraid. And so that's why I get so many downvotes on these videos. Let's see how many I can get today. 10 is usually the minimum that I get right after the video. If 10 people hate me so much, why are they watching? They always downvote, but they always watch too. I don't get why that is, but it sounds like a masochistic thing. Like if I hated someone that much, I wouldn't watch it. Like I've never downvoted a thing in my life. I don't think, probably. Maybe in a moment of drunken weakness, but that's about it. So, sorry, Guessio has a half-life and it's expired. It's dying now. That's just the way that it is. Don't be caught in that. Get onto the science. It's not that hard. Learn for a few months and then you'll be up to speed and you'll be getting the results that we're getting in bit.ly/SEO proof. Duh. I mean, it's not that hard. As long as you have the money, as long as you have the time, you should do it now before that time runs out and that money runs out, because it's going to. That is the way the cookie crumbles. So they say, be complete, mention everything that you have to offer. Google is smart, but we can't guess what you don't tell us. This is something that should make you sit back in your chair and slap your forehead. This is probably one of the best admissions. If you know how Google's algorithms actually work, this is actually one of the biggest admissions they've ever given. Probably one of them. There's another one down below that I see that we're about to get to. So be complete. Mention everything that you have to offer Google. Google is smart, but we can't guess what you don't tell us. They're totally right. Their AIs, their bacterial level intelligence AIs, 4 or 5 of them working together, are pretty smart, but they're not magic workers. They're still fed by us. The SEO industry still feeds Google, just like we fed them links for 10 years. Now they're off of links and they're on to something else. They're on to semantics. We feed them semantics. It's their semantic engine. Notice in here, they did not say anywhere. They said use text, but not keywords. They said John Mueller used to say years ago, well, make sure you say in your page what you want to rank for. Notice it doesn't say that anywhere here. That's not because that would be giving away too much. That's because that's not the way it works anymore. Not directly, not necessarily. Maybe, I told you, the ranking factors are niche dependent. In some niches, yes, you want to say the EMQ all over the place. In some niches, you can't say it even once, or they will nail you. How can you measure that? How can you tell? Join the group. But that is a very interesting admission when you read between the lines there. Then they say, be topical. Well, what do you mean, be topical? Isn't that the same as being complete and using text? They say, for instance, if you run an ice cream store that also sells hot chocolate, be sure to feature your ice cream in the summer and your hot chocolate or coffee or sandwiches in the winter when people won't be searching for ice cream. Oh, okay. This is another huge admission that no one even realizes. No one is even close to realizing this. And they say, if a new trend starts for kiwi ice cream and you have it in your store, feature it prominently. Okay, what does that mean, feature it prominently? Well, what does it mean to feature something prominently on your website? I don't know, on the index page, maybe? Or maybe with a big link that you could see? And what does it have to do when people, what they're searching for? Uh-oh, big, huge admission right here. That topicality matters. What does topical mean? They're talking about timing here, aren't they? Oops. They just told you how the quality engine connects to the semantic engine. Right here by accident. They told you how the quality engine connects to the semantic engine. And so that's a very interesting admission when you start to figure out how this actually works here. And it tells you that, you cannot have perennial content. That tells you as well, you've got to be nimble. You've got to be responding to customer demand and need. And that they have a way of tracking and measuring that. Okay, interesting. Now, it doesn't tell you exactly how to do it. We've scientifically distilled this and tested it and found out exactly how to do it. But it's a very interesting admission here that everyone else is just glossing over. Every other SEO who's looked at this has either guessed wildly or 90% of them have just glossed over this and been like, oh yeah, okay, text, right. Oh yeah, and talk about stuff. Okay, so the rest of the SEO industry thinks this means stuff your keywords everywhere. Wrong. That'll derank pages. They think this means make a long form content. Long form content is the best content. Skyscraper content is the best content. Wrong. That'll derank you in many cases, if not most. And then they ignored this, and ignoring this alone will derank you in many cases. This 2C. Number 2C is the most important suggestion that they have here, strangely enough, even though it's the one that probably every other SEO just glossed right over because, they're SEOs, they have no idea what they're doing. Okay, then they say another one, which is very important, which was related to 2C. Are you getting visitors for these queries? Select and sort by average CTR. Oh, why is it important to look at CTR? I thought clicks were what we're supposed to be looking at. No, they want you to look at average CTR right here in black and white. Well, how do you improve your average CTR? Well, they say get noticed by other sites. Okay, well, that's just links, right? They didn't say links anywhere here. They said get your site mentioned in the appropriate places online. Okay, well, what's the appropriate places? And what does it mean to have a site mentioned? Right? See if you can get mentioned on your local news sites or any other appropriate resources. Well, what does it mean for it to be appropriate? Appropriate places, appropriate resources, all very interesting, but once you know how it works, actually a big, huge hint as to how things are going. And I'll tell you right now, that does not mean links. Links are a tiny percentage of that. A tiny, tiny percentage of what they are talking about right here. Which also, by the way, what does this have to do with this? What does this, getting noticed by other sites, have your site mentioned in appropriate places online, like you'd think it has something to do with links? What is links? I'm not saying it does. It partially does, but very, very small, like 10%. What does this have to do with average CTR? Very interesting when you start to realize the relationship of actually how this works. And I'm going to blow your mind right now. Everyone in the SEO industry thinks that it is factor dependent. That it is factor dependent and order agnostic. Surprise! It's not order agnostic. It's order dependent and factor dependent relative to other factors. But that you'd only learn that if you tested through science and then knew exactly what that relationship was. After your mind was blown, my mind would, my brain was all over that painting, about the picture right there. Boom! And I had to scrape it off and stick it back here and put my coiffed hair on top to hide it. That's why I got a haircut, to hide my brain that exploded. When I realized what I said, everyone thinks it's factor dependent and order agnostic. Nope, no, it's not. So, okay, and they're telling it to you here. They told it to you. They told it to you. Anyone who read this very closely would have had big, huge clues as to how things are working and where their testing should go. This alone is not enough to rank any sites, of course. This alone is nowhere near enough to rank any sites. But this is what should be guiding your testing. They also say, be descriptive. Now, we're talking about how to improve CTR, right? Be descriptive. Use accurate descriptive titles for your pages. Oh, they want it to be both accurate and descriptive? Why did they say accurate and descriptive? Why use both of those adjectives? What could both of those adjectives possibly mean? Maybe this is sort 1 and this is sort 2? Yep. That's what it means. But you're not going to get any practical ideas to what to do with that until you learn the actual ranking factors and how they work. And titles, is that just the title tag or the meta description as well? Or maybe some other tag somewhere or something? What are the magical tags that they're using to check for this? We know. And here's another really good admission that a lot of people are forgetting. We recommend focusing on one topic per page. Here it is in Google in black and white in their actual documentation that they say they stand for. Not just an off-the-cuff remark from John Mueller, where he'll say anything just to get you off his back because he has to make these stupid videos that he hates. All the other tools are like, try to go for multiple ranking, multiple queries with our tool. Put this related search in the H2 and put this related search in the H3. Wrong, dead wrong. Dead wrong from our testing, dead wrong from right here what Google says. They say that's not what they recommend. They recommend focusing on one topic per effing page. Wrong. Right here in black and white. Don't even need to do any science. Right here. Boom. And then the last one, which is kind of interesting, keep your site up to date. If your restaurant website hasn't updated its menu since 1925, then update it. There aren't a lot of customers searching for sarsaparilla these days. Okay, well, that immediately people look at that and they think, all right, well, that's just QDF. That's just freshness, right? So I should just fake the date signal on top of with PHP or JavaScript. The date should always say the current date, and that's what's going to boost me, right? Wrong. Google's thought of that. That's not the way it works. And there's another thing here. It has less to do with not updating it since 1925 or whatever, since a long time ago, because John Mueller has admitted, and you have to learn how to parse John Mueller's statements of what to listen to and what not to. He has said that it kind of in like a off the cuff admission, which is usually the more truthful statements, usually, where it doesn't matter. Like sometimes perennial content is the content that should rank. Like consider philosophy, for example. It hasn't changed. Some of Plato's philosophy hasn't changed since 400 BC in Athens, in Greece. So you don't need to have the latest take on Plato. Although maybe it will help you, I don't know. But there's some perennial content that doesn't need to change, and then it's all relative to each other. That whatever. Harvard hasn't changed their Plato pages, and Stanford hasn't changed their Plato pages since 2010, so yours don't need to update either, kind of a deal. Maybe it's relative, who knows? But then there's another thing that they talk about, which is this, which it means something different, actually. There aren't a lot of customers searching for sarsaparilla these days. Why did they say that? What actually does that mean? That there's not a lot of customers searching for sarsaparilla. This is talking more about using old terminology or old keywords, or even going even on your page trying to optimize for old ways of searching or old keywords. Like maybe back in the day, everyone searched for, I don't know, Jaguar parts, but maybe now everyone's talking into their phone, what are the cheapest Jaguar parts? Who knows? Like maybe the search patterns have changed over the days. That is another thing that you have to keep in mind as well. And keyword research is still important and still what you want to make sure you're going for there. And how does all this, it's pretty obvious how B applies to average CTR, to improving your click-through rate on Google SERPs. But how does all of this, how does A, B, and C apply to improving average CTR? That is a deeper mystery that should have provoked some people to have some more thoughts. Maybe this has something to do, how this all works, has something to do with improving this. This is obvious and making your titles more descriptive and accurate. But what does it mean to be both accurate and descriptive? Two different algorithms in two different places of their search life cycle. And then keeping your site up to date. Maybe there's something about keeping your site up to date that will improve this so that you will improve your rankings, period. Which, hint, there is, which we've tested. So that was very interesting. That's when you start to realize how the factors actually work, you can start to read between the lines as to what Google actually says. And that is I'm shrinking here. That is going to be much more useful for doing your SEO and interpreting what they say, going to their conferences. Science is going to help everything. Science is like the magic juice that's going to help you rank. It's going to help you make more money. It's going to help you be more efficient. It's going to help you save money. It's going to help you interpret what they're talking about. It's going to help you right now and for the future. So it's very interesting kind of what Google says and what they admit. And when you know actually how things work, when you're in the cool club of knowing how things actually work, it's kind of like back in the day, the cool club used to be at the conferences because the angels would come down from heaven and tell the physicists, yeah, it's E equals MC squared. Just don't bother testing it. Just go, right? That's not how it works anymore. Now the angels, if I could use that heavenly metaphor, which is terrible, maybe I should use the devils. The devils came up from hell and tell you, E equals MC squared. Don't even test it. And they would do it, buy links. And they did, right? They told them over beers, they're a bunch of programmers at Google. When you throw women and beer and fans at them, what do nerds do? People like me. I will tell you everything. Blah, 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 keep liking me. That's how it used to work, really, quite frankly. Now, that was the cool club. If you went to conferences, that's why you went to SMX and those conferences, to meet Google, and they would tell you secrets. And they did. They told me secrets. Miley Oli would tell me stuff to my face, like, oh yeah, we're doing that next year. It'll work, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it was the unknown, it was the unsaid relationship between Google and SEOs that if you were in the cool club, if you actually paid to go to the conferences, that they would tell you stuff. And they did. And if you bought them, I had personal conversations with Matt Cutts, and if I have John Mueller's email. That's the way it used to work. It doesn't work that way anymore. They don't tell you enough stuff anymore. They don't care anymore. The spirit of Google is different now. They are not the egalitarian company that they once were. They don't even use the motto, don't do no evil anymore. Now, the only thing you can trust, the only person you can trust, you can't even trust a person. You can't trust me. Don't listen to the word I say. Look at all my evidence. Look at all my results. When you join the group, go to the test results channel and read all the tests and see, holy shit, he actually proved this. Holy shit, it's actually right. That's what you should be looking at and trusting, right? Is the truth, is science. Or do it on your own. Look at that article I just showed you and think how you can test it and think how you can do it on your own if you want. It's difficult to do, I'll let you know. And proper science, all the other SEO groups out there that claim to be doing science, a lot of them do claim to be doing science. They do not do it stringently enough for it to be real science. They don't isolate the factors well enough for it to be real science. And quite frankly, Google's known this science. Google has found out that this science kind of revolution has happened in SEO, and they've taken steps to hide what's going on and randomly change things around. And you can hear the other groups talking about it, and they go, I don't know why this name show up here like this. I do. Or I don't know why this happened. I do. Because I've tested it, and I was lucky. I was just lucky enough to be sitting in the right place at the right time during one of the updates to see one of the changes they made, so I could continue to manipulate about it and go, okay, I know what they're doing, blah, 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 blah. Not because I'm super smart or anything. It has nothing to do with that. It was just luck. But it is the diligence that I learned in academia to do more scientific testing, which I entreat you to do. I entreat you to try it. I entreat you to do it and see how far you can get with it. Okay, so let's look at the questions here. Chase says he likes my haircut. Thank you. Thanks, Chase. I'm glad you like my haircut. Any more questions you guys have here, go ahead and ask them. If you want me to take a look at a URL, I'd be happy to take a look at it and give you some suggestions. Hosni says, yes, very interesting indeed. I agree. So once you kind of learn how the once you're in the real cool club, which is science, it's not that group anymore. They're just selling links, and it's a dying industry. It's very sad. The SMX crowd, the conference crowd. Once I know all your friends are there. I know it's safe and warm and fuzzy, but you got to move to science. And I mean, fine, do it on your own. If you don't like me, fine, but do it on your own because you are definitely going to be in some trouble if you don't. And don't post the results. The last thing you should do is post the results. Keep all the results to yourself. Keep them secret. Do not tell anybody else. Definitely don't tell Google. Because they will make changes. They've looked into my stuff. They've looked into Kyle's stuff. Kyle is another tester who used to be good and not really so much anymore, in my opinion. They looked into his stuff. I mean, do not publicly publish any of your stuff. That's the main reason why I can only go into so much detail here, because they've already been looking at my stuff, and they will continue to look at your stuff if you publicly announce it. So don't do that. Okay, guys. So few minutes left here in the show. Go ahead, ask questions in the chat if you have any more questions. I can go over some more of the update stuff. I can look at your URLs and try and give you some suggestions. Don't be shy. You got me for another 5-10 minutes here. If anyone has questions, if nobody does, then great. Short show for me. I'll shut her down. But by all means, ask questions there in the chat if you have anything you want to know about. I'll give you a couple seconds. Digital Exhale says, who you got on the main card this Saturday? I also am a UFC fan, but not so much of a fan that I know who's actually fighting. Let's see. Who's fighting this Saturday? Israel. Yeah, I'm kind of an old school guy. I don't really know any of these new people. That Israel dude was going to beat Ramiro. That's what I think. But I'd prefer to be answering SEO questions right now. But that's okay. Whatever is going on. Someone here is called Google Guy. And he says he or she says they're thinking of something. Hold up. Okay, I can hold up. Yeah. Any more questions, guys? Google Guy says, what are you using for flows and task management for your processes? That's a good question. So that question begs another question. And the question it begs is how much work should be involved in SEO? And when you get into SEO, you realize that from an organizational standpoint, he says, yeah, okay, I got you, Google Guy. So the answer is it totally differs based on what kind of SEO you are to some degree. In-house SEOs, client-based SEOs, affiliate SEOs, you all have to keep pretty busy to make sure that the various pages and sites you're trying to rank are going to continue ranking on a regular basis. I just was talking to my students today about how, or at least I was thinking about talking to my students today, I don't think I actually posted it yet, but how Google is making it harder for us on purpose. That means more hours of the day are spent doing SEO. 5 years ago, I was ranking affiliate sites, and I no word of a lie, I wouldn't look at them for 3 to 6 months, and I'd play video games for 3 to 6 months, and I was making 6 figures. That was lovely, but that time ended because eventually Google is going to get over, Google is going to make it harder and harder and harder for us and make it more labor intensive. And what they're doing with their powerful AIs, we have to replicate somehow with prefab tools or worse tools or just things that we're creating on the fly. And so I did have this discussion with my students today because I showed them a way to crush the rankings in a way that no one has seen before. The most powerful semantic engine hack that we've ever had. And instead of them going, yay, which I thought would be the answer, they're like, but Josh, this is pretty labor intensive. And I'm like, well, sorry, you want to be number one or not? Like this is what Google is making us do. So there's that component as well. It's more labor intensive. It's a higher barrier to entry. You got to understand STEM. You've got to some degree. You've got to be able to think scientifically to some degree. You've got to understand technology. Do not get into this game if you don't know HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, how PHP works, kind of, how MySQL works, kind of, how WordPress works, kind of, how all these other technologies work, kind of. If you don't have that knowledge, you better have it on your team, and you better be a good project manager, which is speaking more to what you're talking about there, Google Guy. And when it comes to flows and task management, here's the question, though, that begs, that I don't think you realize. There is this idea in the industry that you have to be pumping out 10 articles a day and that you have to be pumping out all this content and you have to be building all these links and it's very labor intensive. That's totally and utterly wrong. That's completely wrong. Spray and pray SEO has some places and is a tactic and a strategy that still can be used, but 5 or 10 years ago, it was the de facto preferred strategy, and now it is a niche strategy. I'll say the same thing. Spray and pray, making 1,000 pages on low-hanging fruit queries, long-tail queries, used to be kind of the one of the de facto, even further back, head terms was a thing. Plaid shirts. I sell plaid shirts. I want to rank for plaid shirts. Put me up for plaid shirts. We bought enough plaid shirt links and said plaid shirts in the title. You were ranking for plaid shirts number 1. It wasn't that hard 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Then the head terms went down and people started doing the long term because Google were getting better at discounting links, getting rid of links, getting rid of link farms, making it slightly, and I mean slightly more complicated, not really. And then finally, long tail started coming up where that was the de facto standard. But it was very labor intensive. You had to pump out 10 articles a day to get your 10,000 pieces SEO'd up on, whatever it is, whatever topic or broad topics it is. Google has decimated that. They've destroyed that. They made it either so labor intensive to do, and then, or they made it useless because you'll never rank because you don't have the right signals, because you can't scale the right signals. The only way to do SEO, no, not the only way. In my opinion, in my scientifically backed opinion, the best way to do SEO is what we call surgical SEO. Hat tip to Kyle in our group for coming up with the term. I was using artisanal SEO, which is a slightly more airy-fairy, look at my haircut, adjective to use for what I'm talking about. But it's the same thing. It's a craftsperson SEO. It's surgical SEO. It's going in and making surgical changes to get the best possible results and to kill the rankings and actually be north of 5 and maybe even be spot number 1. and be ranking that and keeping those canaries in the air all the time, keeping that number one rankings going all the time. When Google is making a change, a big core update a month, they're going to be doing this every month, guys. It's never going to stop. It's never going to slow down. All these people dropping every month. They're going to keep doing core updates every month, whether they admit it's a core update or not, or what they call a core update versus what I call a core update. They're going to do it every month, guys. And so if you're thinking, well, the work I'm doing right now is not sustainable, I'm not either making enough or I'm spending too much, or it's costing too much, or it's too much work, or it's not what I want to do, well, it's just going to get worse and worse. And so I'm much more interested in doing surgical SEO on the best niches, because we have the best tactics proven by science, and getting the juicy money in the best niches, or the juicy clients in the best niches, gobble all those up while all the other SEOs are failing and getting fired, and we can move into that, or all the other websites, our affiliate sites are getting crushed, and we can move into that, and then we can hold the spots, because there is kind of a Google inertia. And there is still specifically a Google inertia. Did you know that there is a sandbox? It's true. Google has algorithms to trust particular web properties and determine whether or not they're going to rank. They will rank stuff on trusted web properties right away, and they will de-rank stuff on untrusted web properties right away. And and that includes people at the top and winners and stuff like that. And even though their system is much more reactive than it used to be, like a million times more reactive than it used to be, especially with that quality engine that they have going on, which talks with the semantic engine, those two are way more streamlined, and every month they get an update. Every month they get a boost, right? A refresh, a boost. But even so, people at number one can often stay at number one, and even often have some kind of momentum for a lot of reasons that we know about and we manipulate. So that's a lot of the juice of SEO right there that you got to pay attention to. So when you ask, what am I using for my flow or task management? Not much, because I'm doing surgical SEO. I'm not doing any spray and pray SEO. So I have a few employees who work for me, and I project manage them. That's it. But there's only so much time in the day. It's difficult enough to get the number one rankings, north of 5 rankings for X number of clients, and then however many students, whatever 70, 80, 90, 100 students, or whatever students I have in the group right now. Hosni says, they say in the help guide, restructure the site, and you said they rank pages. Does this mean we have to be very aware of our site structure and page topics, something like Wikipedia? I was going to say yes, up until you said something like Wikipedia. It has nothing to do with Wikipedia. It has nothing to do with table of contents. It has nothing to do with how Wikipedia structures their site. But yes, there is a site structure, which is important. There is a way of doing it's important. It is not silos. Silos is the wrong way to do it. Silos is the way to do it that they will destroy. But there is a way that you need to structure your page and structure your site, and it is important. But it's not like any of the examples that you put out there, you put up here at Wikipedia, or any of the examples that SEOs would immediately think about and go to. And last question, Hosni says, another question. You mentioned in your answer to my first question the phrase vector engine. What do you mean by the word vectoring? Well, that is the $1 million question, isn't it? Yes. So there's not a lot I can say there. It is closer to what Google is actually doing. So I gave you a little golden tip there. But sadly, there's not much I can talk about it. I can talk about it for hours when you join the group. But it's something that I've called semantic content vectoring in the past. If you look that up, it doesn't exist. It's a word I made up, but it's very close to some other semantic engines that other people talk about, like LSI, latent semantic indexing, is another semantic engine. TF-IDF, trust flow inverse. Term frequency inverse document frequency is TF-IDF, and that's another semantic engine. They're not using either of those. They're using something closer to what I call vectoring, and but only in a particular way and only in a particular fashion. They've married that to the NLP algorithm. So sadly, that's exactly what's going on. Sadly, that doesn't really make it enough. You have to know how to manipulate these algorithms, and you can go way wrong way easily. And you could even do it right but it's a half-assed job if you don't know really the secret tricks of how to manipulate that. That's what I discovered today, and I showed the proof for today. One of the most powerful semantic hacks the most powerful semantic hack that I've ever seen in SEO. Period. That clues Google into it within like 6 clues or less. Google is like, okay, I know exactly what you should be ranking for, most powerfully. Boom. And we just discovered that today, so it was super exciting. And so we're just going back to Google Guys questions. We're just figuring out now how we can scale this and how we can make a task process for this. So Hosni asks, I mean word vectoring because there's a tool out there called WordLift. I think I'm not sure market the word vectoring heavily. No, it's not WordLift. I know all the tools out there. It's not WordLift. They have it wrong. It's not MarketMuse. They have it wrong. It's not Super SEO or whatever you call it. They have it wrong. It's not Quora. They have it wrong. It's not Pop. They have it wrong. All those guys have it wrong because they did the tiniest amount of crappy testing, and then they made a tool out of it. They blew their load too soon. They tooled too fast, if I could say it that way. So sadly, no. They had to do more research and more back-breaking, brain-exploding, hair pulling out, gray hair making. I get dyed, so you don't see them. Gray-haired making. I told you I was egotistical. Gray-haired making work that I've been working on 8 hours a day every day since 2018. So it took much more work to do it, but we have cracked the code, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous when you figure it out. All right, guys. Well, that's been an hour. Thank you very much for watching. This has been the SEO Science Show. If you have any questions at all about SEO, I'll try to help you out. Email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. Don't be shy. Email me at joshbachynski. It's joshbachynski@gmail.com. If you'd like to join the group and become part of the inner circle for the best science of actually how Google is working and dominate the rankings, email me and I'll send you my application form, and we'll see if we can make the magic happen. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.